I'm about to drop a little knowledge on you with my most controversial yet truthful take ever given on this platform. And sometimes reality hurts to hear, and if you're faint of heart, you may want to cover your ears. Okay. October is the greatest month to exist. Go argue with a brick wall if you disagree. No, seriously, it's scientifically proven that the next 31 days are better than any other of the 365 that we have, especially if you are a sports fan, because not only do you have the MLB postseason, you have the return of the NHL and the NBA, you have NFL Sundays. Naturally, we have my birthday to celebrate, which is a holiday in itself. The greatest holiday exists on October 31st. Take that, Christmas and December 25th. It's the start of pumpkin spice season. Yes, ladies, PSL Day is actually October 1st, not August 1st. I have no idea where you got that lost in the mail. And we also have college football on our television screens every Saturday for what I like to call optimizing October. You get to see who separates themselves as pretenders and contenders for a college football playoff national championship. And sometimes people are going to look at these weeks where the games are a little stale. You don't have a lot of high profile matchups. And you say, well, I could take this week off. And here's what you should do. Don't listen to them. This is going to be a very scary Saturday for multiple teams, especially when it comes to their case of making the college football playoffs. So let's talk about it. What's going on, SEC Unfiltered? It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you go ahead and like the video, hit the ring notification down below, and smash the subscribe button because we're talking college football every single day. Download the podcast version wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on all the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me at Mr. Cole Thompson on all the social channels. And check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at GameTime. Download the GameTime app and use the promo code SECU for $20 off your first purchase. It's not just for college football. It's for the NFL. It's for the NBA. It's for the NHL. It's for the theater. It's for music concerts. Download the GameTime app with the promo code SECU for $20 off. Week 6 is what I call a palate cleansing week. Oh, this is going to be one that now re-energizes you before we get to the matchups of week 7. And boy, have you seen that weekend slate? October 12th should be truly a national holiday. Those who have to work in those unfortunate jobs that take you away for the weekend, you get a pass. You should be sitting on your couch. You should be cracking open an ice cold beverage of your choice and indulging in 12 hours of nonstop football. But week 6 doesn't really have those matchups. In fact, you will have the fans in your life, and we all know who they are, that don't see enough top 25 versus top 25 matchups. In fact, we only have one this week, and they'll go, well, I promised the girlfriend I can go take her out for brunch. I promised my parents that I would come rake the leaves. I promised my boys that I would go out to maybe play a couple of 9 holes of golf, 18 if we have a good day. You have terrible friends, number one, if they're taking you away from the college football screen. On top of that, your parents, they don't need your help. And your girlfriend, well, she's replaceable. Let's just call a spade a spade. This is one of those weekends where you're going to be looking back at 9 o'clock at night, and your jaw's going to be on the floor saying, how the hell did that happen? And I'm not going to be the one to go ahead and recap everything for you, because you should be doing your due diligence as a college football fanatic and sitting on the couch and not doing a damn thing. You have matchups and major storylines throughout this week. And I mean major storylines in the SEC, primarily in the SEC. Yes, we all know that Texas A&M versus Missouri is going to be the marquee game because it's the only top 25 matchup. But you got Auburn going down to Georgia. You got Ole Miss traveling to South Carolina. You got Vanderbilt taking on Alabama. Rat poison all ahead. Florida versus UCF. Tennessee traveling to Fayetteville. I mean, there are games to say at the end of the day, well, what the hell happened? And every single one of these games has massive playoff implications, or just 2024 implications, if we're going to be completely honest. How about we start with the easy one, like Vanderbilt versus Alabama? You saw the tweet, right? I mean, everyone saw it. If you didn't, just go look on Twitter. It's available, where there are rat traps all surrounding the Malmore Athletic Complex. Oh, look, Saban didn't leave. He just brought in a new aura of himself. He switched bodies. That's all that happened. Rat poison is alive and well down in Tuscaloosa. Don't believe me? Well, you nearly blow a 28-0 lead after demoralizing Georgia in the first half, and now you travel to play Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt is a team that I don't think is going to win this game in the slightest, even though Diego Pavia still promised a spot at Thompson Tech University. We have the NIL deal in place. If you want to go ahead and take out a loan, we're going to reevaluate you regardless. They still are an offense that has given fits to several teams that we consider contenders. We don't know what's going to happen with Virginia Tech anymore, even though they did take a Miami team down to the wire. And who knows what we're going to see with Missouri moving forward. But if Alabama gets complacent, well, all that good mojo, that number one force mentality, that kind of flies out the window because that's how we're treating other teams when they play Vanderbilt, even if Vanderbilt is a better team. It's all about keeping your foot on the throttle and moving into the next step, making sure that the energy that has resided in Tuscaloosa for the last 16 years isn't dying anytime soon. How about Georgia going on home to take on Auburn? This is supposed to be like a get right week. You get back to your game plan on why you view yourself as one of the premier teams, and your schedule still has a ton of trap ups in there. You got a game against Ole Miss. You got a game on the road against Texas on F1 weekend of all places. They're going to be off to the races that weekend in Austin. You also have to play Tennessee. And there's just something about Hugh Freeze waking up and playing the big game that should worry Georgia fans. Now, I personally think it's going to be a blowout, but I'm also wrong half the time, and I have to admit that. So you can't entirely rule out that this could be one of those games where it's in the fourth quarter and we're saying, hey, what is going on with Auburn? Because Auburn may not actually be the worst thing to ever exist in the SEC. They're not a great team by any means, but they certainly are better than advertised. Hugh Freeze even said, if we cut down on the turnovers, we're a pretty solid team. And some of you might be scoffing and going, yeah, but you still have Peyton Thorne as your quarterback. That's not what he said, though. What he said was, we would be a better team if we cut down on the turnovers. They would be 5-0 if they didn't have a single turnover. If 11 turnovers didn't occur between the Arkansas game, the Cal game, and of course Oklahoma in the final fourth quarter, they'd be sitting at 5-0 going into this matchup. And how would we feel now about Auburn? One win away from bowl eligibility going into the month of October. Even if they cut down it by half from 11 to 6, there's still a very good shot that two of those interceptions don't occur against Cal. They win the game. Two of those interceptions or turnovers don't occur against Arkansas. They win the game. They don't throw a pick six and Kip Lewis isn't walking into the end zone at Jordan-Hare Stadium. They win the game. So I'm just saying, this is not a week to where you're going to find yourself getting back on track. This is going to be a week where maybe Hugh Freeze plays up to the competition, and it's one of those marquee scenarios where eventually the fans kind of get off his case. How about Texas A&M versus Missouri? Not only is this a top 25 matchup, but guys, I don't think that you understand what this could mean for the rest of the season for both these teams. Texas A&M is not out of the college football playoff hunt. They're not. They are very much a dark horse at this point. The defense is coming on strong. They have a mobile quarterback in Marcel Reed, and depending on what happens with Connor Wigman, you may have a 1-2 combo to where you just throw out your best punch every Saturday and just ride the course. That's in a good spot. And meanwhile, Missouri, they struggled with mobile quarterbacks. Thomas Castellanos, Diego Pavia, both had their way at times against the Tigers. And the explosive plays downfield with this passing attack headlined by Brady Cook has not been there. They had a week to regroup. They had a week to re-prepare. They had a week to study all the tape about what Texas A&M is. And you even hear Eli Drinkwitz saying, well, we kind of figure we're playing the Marcel Reed kid. At that point, if you lose this game, you're kind of now putting yourself in no man's land because if 10 wins isn't guaranteed with Missouri's schedule to get into the college football playoff. But a marquee win is. Do you know what the other marquee game would be for the Mizzou Tigers on the road this year? Alabama, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck. So both of these teams have playoff implications. If Texas A&M wins, well, now 10-2 is not off the table. Games against Auburn, games against South Carolina, games against LSU, games against Texas. Maybe you find your offense humming in the right direction at that point, and you can hold your own. And the same thing goes for Missouri if they win, because it's a moot point. Now they're sitting at 5-0 and probably going to be going 6-0 before they have their next real test against Auburn, which may not even be a real test at that point. And then, of course, we have the granddaddy of them all, two other games. Real quickly, let's talk about Tennessee versus Arkansas. Arkansas kind of at this point is going all in just for that massive win of the season. And the game is in Fayetteville, so that at least bodes well with the home atmosphere flavor. We saw a few years ago when Arkansas was able to beat up on an Ole Miss team and they beat up on an LSU team. So maybe this is the one. I personally don't think that's happening. Tennessee fans, I personally don't think that that's happening at all. But you could have the moment where literally Taylor Green wields this uncorks a screwball deep downfield And it's like in the movie Return of the King. I know my nerdism is coming out. Sorry about that. But when he says, and then charges into the walls of Mordor, that's going to be Taylor Green going, forbidden, and then deliver a strike 50 yards down the field, deep into the arms of Andrew Armstrong, and that be a game winner. It's not off the table. Nothing in the world of college football is off the table. If we learned anything last week from the upset that happened on the Grove against a top 6 Ole Miss team, one that we thought was untouchable at times, anything is possible. And Nico Iamaleava coming off of a bye week, how does he look now going into another atmosphere that isn't Rocky Top? Speaking of Ole Miss, how does Ole Miss look? Because this is a game that must be won. And I'm going to tell you, weird things happen at Williams-Brice Stadium, the most underrated, hostile environment in all of college football. It is truly a small church and what I like to call a cathedral of chaos. It belongs in that category because if you watch as top 10 teams march in there, especially into the latter months, and they find a way to take it out. Well, Ole Miss can't afford to take it out at this point. Ole Miss is not allowed to lose another game unless it is to Georgia, and they also find ways to get massive upsets against LSU and Oklahoma by bulldozing them if they want to make the college football playoff. That's it. And for South Carolina, well, if they win this game, their best season is ahead. You beat an Ole Miss team that was averaging over 445 yards of offense, and your defense is able to force turnovers, critical mistakes, and put Jackson Dart in a blender. Well, now you're justifiably saying we're just as good as Kentucky. And a lot of people right now are kind of pissed off that we're not getting the same type of hype that Kentucky's getting. And we took them in the back shed of the woodshed and beat them to oblivion a couple weeks ago. That's what we did. So it's one of those things where now momentum can be carried for a South Carolina squad. If all these major games happen, there are no upsets. They're close calls. Georgia finds a way to sneak one out against Auburn. Tennessee finds a way to get by in Fayetteville. You watch as Ole Miss finds a way to secure the massive win against the Gamecocks. And, of course, Missouri ends up winning that game against Texas A&M and Kyle Field. It's a moot point. But also, if one of these games ends up being big and having these implications of truly chaos in the world of college football, I'm just saying, I warned you. And the last thing I want to hear from you people is that I had plans on the weekend. You have no plans. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a college true football sicko, you will sit your happy keister down on that couch every single Saturday. It could be something miraculous. Wedding of your best friend, the birth of your own child. Your kid could be playing in the Little League World Series. Tell mom or tell grandpa to tape it. You got college football on your television screens. That's one of those days. I don't want to hear come Sunday, when we do Sunday Fun Day, did you imagine what that upset was? Could you see what was going on down at Fayetteville? Yeah, I could because I watched it. Hey, do you know what's going on down at Williams-Brice Stadium? I believe it because I watched it. Do you see how really Auburn played extremely physical brand of football? I know. I watched it, and you should be watching it too. This is a palate cleansing week in the world of college football for the marquee matchups. It does not mean that teams are susceptible to not dropping a game. And there will be at least one, regardless in the SEC or anywhere in the world of college football, where we will be talking about the upset that probably happened and one you should have been watching. But let me know in the comment section down below. Is this an upset weekend galore? Is the scary Saturday upon us between the palate cleansing week 6? Like, rate, review, subscribe, follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Download the podcast version of the show and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Until next time, folks, peace.